If you say so, Robert. Just gonna wait here and see that I have audio and that I have video, and then we will get this show on the road. And yes, no commercials. Still not used to it. Come on. It's a non-skippable one. One of 3. We'll have to wait and see what goes on with that. Ay, what a Shabbos. What a Shabbos. Okay. Why am I getting this commercial? That's odd. Skipping. And... Yes? Am I live? Yes, it's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Hello. Shavuot Tov, a good new week to everyone. Let's see. Am I good? Yes, we are good. Hey, Luke Miller is here. How you doing, Luke Miller? I'm doing really well. Robert says, people give this vid so many likes, it's pitiful. I don't understand. Which vid? Which one? You mean this one? This one just started. Okay. Let's go with a few. So first of all, how is your weekend? How has been your Shabbos? Those who it's the weekend for, those who the weekend for is just beginning, those who are celebrating Valentine's Day, Saint Valentine's Day. I do not. But when I was first going out with my woman, when we were 16, she told me, hey, what are we doing for Valentine's Day? We had just become sort of official. And then I said, I don't do St. Valentine's Day, but we will do the 15th of Av, right, in the summer, the Hebrew Day of Love, as it's known, right, a matchmaking holiday, an ancient one. And then by that time, we had broken up. So I still don't do anything for Valentine's Day. There's this misconception of St. Valentine being instrumental in harming Jews or something along those lines, but I found out that isn't the case at all. But since it's named after a saint, and it's... it's basically a Christian thing, even though it's very secular, very national or whatever, but it's also secular to some degree. But I still don't partake of it. A lot of love today. That's cool. Hey, FDF is here. You have a good Shabbat? Yes, I did. I had a very good Sabbath. Indeed. Hey, Roy McClone is here. Tech Israel. Viva Israel. Sabbath is Sunday, 13 months. What does that mean, FDF? You want to clarify that maybe? That would be pretty good. Precepts said, because Samson did things he vowed not to do, you created a Samson Nazarite vow. So I did not create a Samson Nazarite vow. It's been around since the time of Samson or shortly after he died. But there is a dispute among the sages. Halakhically speaking, there is such a thing as a Samson Nazarite vow, which is not precisely the one in Numbers chapter 6, but it's still considered one of the 4 types of Naziriteships. And the dispute is because Samson did not actually take on the vow. It was instructed to his parents by an angel, right, a messenger, although some people say that much like the Nazarite for life vow, where if a person is made a Nazarite when he is before bat or bar mitzvah, once they become of age at 12 or 13 respectively, right, bat mitzvah, bar mitzvah, then they can choose whether or not to continue the vow. If they continue the vow, then they are Nazarites for life. If they choose to stop it when they become bar or bat mitzvah, then they need to bring the offerings and so on and so forth. But the Nazarite vow of Samson has been around, and there was a dispute at the time of the Second Temple during the Mishnah, at any rate. There's a dispute, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Mishnah, where a sage or two don't consider it to be a proper Nazarite's vow, but it halakhically is a Nazarite vow, just like the others, with a bit of different laws. What the fuck, says Mujahid Domov? I think you've been here before. Did the grenade go off, pal? When I was in the army, sure, but not now. Not recently. Luke Miller says, Saint James, brother of Jesus, kept the commandments unlike the other disciples. Really, the other disciples of Jesus did not keep the commandments? Interesting. The Angry Chicken says, I knew you were Jewish. Well, what gave it away? Hey, Bani Israel here. Hey, Salman, how you doing? Khan, is that like Khan Kohen or... Vumero, eyes all over the place on this one. Indeed. Mujahid says, Jesus, peace be upon him, is from Bethlehem. Fuck Israel, free Palestine. I agree. Free Palestine from Hamas. Free Palestine from their warmongering, bloodthirsty, religious, oppressive, extremist government and leadership. RMR says, should national identity be legally defined and enforced? Well, look, Let's put it this way. What is national identity to you? Because you can be, let's say, of a certain religion or ethnic background, but nationally belong to a different country, hold two passports, be of dual citizenship. There are so many different moving parts here involved. It depends on the person who's saying national identity. What is a national identity? So many nations were erected, established, and they came together, and transfers of people, displacement, conquering. It's like, is Jewish supremacy a problem, asks Mark Henry. Well, I consider it a problem because I do mind any type of supremacy as such. So it's a problem as far as I'm concerned, having that mindset, even if you do want to go with certain verses in the Torah that say we are above, let's say, it's something that you need to stand behind fully. I don't think it's just something that you can signal, right, and like virtue signal. My dick can be up your nose, says Bass Rocky. I don't doubt that it could. I'm assuming it's rather thin, but that's cool. Hey, it's all about how the size or the girth doesn't matter. It's all how you use it. There is no relation between Zionists and Jews. Well, you're mistaken about that. Zionism means biblical Zionism or modern day Zionism has to do with people from Judea returning to Judea, right, to Israel, to their ancestral home. What is Nazirite, says Dijor Jelak, a man or woman of the Hebrew tribes who took on a Nazirite vow. Margaret is here. Hi from South Africa. When you are in the army, do you have to cut your hair? No offense, my friend, just thinking. So, mandatory service, I didn't have the long hair. I had two long side curls. I didn't have to cut it off. The rest of my head I had to keep shaved or, really, really buzzed. But they did allow us to keep the side curls. In reserve duty, I had the long hair, and it didn't really matter as long as it didn't get in the way of actually being able to do my job, which means that I would have it either in my uniform in the back or tied up and under the helmet, depending on the situation that I was in. But basically in the army, in the mandatory service, it needs to be short. In reserve duty, it matters less, depending on what you're doing. So it really does depend on what it is that you're doing in the army. Samson, what was that? Samson would cut them off. Wait, the review, Samson would cut them shit locks off. Really? Because that would sort of take away his, that would be that wouldn't be good for him, as he found out later. Bro, cut off them dookie locks, Jesus. Well, I'm not Jesus, and I don't plan on cutting off the locks, because it's my hair. I just farted, says little Adolf. Hey, that's cool. Was it a wet fart? Was it a loud fart? Was it a silent fart? And whenever people bring up farts here, I need to say you can't just drop a bomb like that, pun intended, and then just go along like nothing happened. Give us some info about the fart. We need to know. Swear you got bugs in that nasty sheet, says Review. No, there have been twice in my life, because when you have little kids, sometimes you'll get lice. I had twice in my life with the locks. I had lice, and I got rid of them that very day. Thank God we have such good ways of killing the lice, right? They're parasites. Yira says, if you met someone who had an encounter with Jesus, what would you ask them about it first? Well, I would ask, what did he tell you? That's basically what I would ask. What else am I going to ask him? You Jewish, says Jacob Alvarez. Yes, indeed, of the kingdom of Judah. Clearly African, says Mark Tade. Well, there is the opinion that all of humanity originated in Africa. I don't know if I go with that or not. Some people say Mesopotamia, some people say, right, Africa. But this cradle of humanity business, cradle of civilization business, there are a few different people, academics, researchers, people who know what they're talking about, who say that it happened here or there. Hang on a second, I'm going to get rid of my tea bag here. I have a green tea. Oh, I forgot to add lemon. It's all right. We Bnei Israel from Canaan, says Salman, and this kind of cruelty is not encouraged in Islam or any religion. What type of cruelty are you talking about, Salman? I'm curious. Okay, let's continue. Are trans women women? No, they are trans women, meaning that they're not women. If they were women, they would not have to have the word trans in front of them. So if you're going with, transitioning between the two sexes, also trans for a lot of people is not necessarily their biology, but it's how they identify, and which is where it really, really does split. Because a trans woman will not have XY chromosomes, they will have XX chromosomes, Nichols had lice. I hate those. Yeah, I had lice as a kid, and it lasted a lot longer than it should have because the different things that we had to get rid of them were not as good. But nowadays, all it takes is one. That's it. They're done. Makes me want to shower just looking at you, says the review. Well, I'm glad that I'm encouraging good personal hygiene. Go for it. It's always good to have good personal hygiene. So I'm definitely on board with that. Go shower, do it. Can you please debate? Oh, wait, the chat just jumped. The chat just jumped. I'm sorry. Someone says, could you debate? And I didn't see before the chat jumped. But I don't debate. I'm not a debater. I'm not an apologist. I'm not a debater. I'm not here to argue with people, change their views, make them change their mind. Not in the least. If never had a job, a person, LOL. Wait, if never had a job was a person, Monkey Boy says. Well, thankfully, I have a lovely career. I've had jobs. I've had dead-end minimum wage soul-sucking jobs. I've had proper jobs. And now, thank God, for over 10 years, I've had a career, which is lovely. And I wish, but I know what it's like to be unemployed. I know what it's like to have a stupid job. You know. What music do you like, man? Hold on a second. Where was that? Herzl says, what music do you like? Classic rock, psychedelic rock, some alternative rock. I like some classical music, but I'm not, a maven in any kind. It only burns when I pee, says Angel. Well, as Frank Zappa sang, why does it hurt when I pee? Why does it hurt when I pee? Lil Adolf says, do you think trans women are sexy? Would you have sex with a trans woman? Well, I'm married. I don't want to cheat on my wife. But I suppose that trans women, it depends. Are they pre-op? Are they post-op? It really does depend. I would say maybe, but I have no idea. I don't know if I've ever been attracted to a trans woman. So I don't know. I guess not so far, I suppose, but maybe. Mboss says, these hate comments, I don't know how you deal with them 24/7, because these are just keyboard warriors. They mean absolutely nothing. They hide behind the anonymity of YouTube. They spew their hate and their bile, their vitriol, and they have nothing to stand behind. And those who actually want to engage in discourse and dialogue, I'm definitely on board with. So, Mboss, good to see you again. It's always nice to see the regulars, or, people coming back. LOL, says Australian Alien. Wait, user says, why is the Torah read backwards? Well, I don't know what you mean by backwards. Hebrew goes right to left, right? So, it starts on the right. Stephen says, religion is full of crap. It only causes harm, greed, and lies, lies, lies. Some religions more than others, and religion at large, the organized religion part, like man-made, man-mandated, definitely it has the potential of being crap, harmful, greedy, and deceitful. But however, I always say that the idea of organized religion, even if it's man-made, is still taking on a path, right? It's still committing to a sort of discipline, you taking on a burden, taking on a yoke, and that has merit. Of course, you could find these things that are wrong with every single religion. I choose to look at the positives. I choose to look at what is right and what is proper and what is honest and just about organized religion. So, Ken Master says, HN is a decent dude. He does support Israel's treatments of... You mean does or does not? But okay. Good to see you again, Ken Master. We've been having a back and forth in the comments for, a week? A couple of weeks? Let's continue down in the chat. Okay. How do you feel, says Mr. Banana Mag. Oh, wait. How do you feel about... Oh, man, the chat is moving so quickly. I can't see what's going on here. How do you feel about neurochemistry, and do you have any specialized interests? Well, I'm a man of words. I don't know anything about neurochemistry. I know that, our biology, it runs on electricity and on the chemicals and the hormones, and you can manipulate it to some degree, but there are also things that you are born with, like inherently, genetically. So there are certain things about your neurochemistry where you have a certain proclivity or disposition to this or that, and depending on the individual, the mind can affect the body to a great degree, and so changing your neurochemistry can affect you. It's a question of case by case, right? I have no idea. Nico says, how do you feel about anti-Jewish propaganda being on the uprise lately? How does it feel that most of it is true? Well, first of all, it depends who you ask. I don't know if most of it is true or not. Second, I think anti-Jewish propaganda is always on the rise. Obviously, if we're in some sort of a war, which we always are, then it will be rising. But it takes very little to get Jew hatred, from some people or some cultures or some faiths. How do I feel about it? I feel like even if people do have a right and a duty, according to them, to criticize the state of Israel and the government and the army, they ought to differentiate, or they could differentiate between the people of Israel and the establishment, right? The people and the state, the people and the government, the people and the army. Are you a fan of Theodor Herzl, says Dragscope? Well, let's put it this way. He said some really important things. Other things I disagreed with him about. Am I a fan? He was a visionary, right? He was a visionary, but that whole secular socialist thing, right, that cropped up in the mid 19th century. I mean, I don't know. On the one hand, it established or helped to establish the modern day state of Israel. On the other hand, it wanted to do it with some kind of disconnect from the spiritual faith Torah element of it, and that was not good. It wasn't good to simply throw the baby out with the bathwater and only claim, right, the indigenous thing and the ancestral thing, because if you disconnect the spiritual from the material, then the disconnect and the right and nature abhors a vacuum. If you disconnect the two, there could be a lot of problems, and there are a lot of problems. Moistrob says, I want to like you because you seem cool, but I need to know, do you think what Israel is doing in Gaza is justified? Well, it's a defensive war. Not everything Israel does is justified, of course, but horrible things happen in war, and Hamas started the war, or Hamas broke the agreement that was in place. So there you go. Go to the dog parlor, says Terry. Your hair's disgusting. Thank you. The dog parlor, I don't know. Could they do something for me? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. No kosher shampoo around? Actually, I do have a kosher shampoo, and it's vegan. Ombks, OMBPKS. So I use shampoo regularly. I've said this many times. I shampoo, once every couple of weeks, or if my hair is significantly dirty for whatever reason, or my scalp is itchy, I don't know what, I'll shampoo it then and there, and I condition once every 4 to 6 weeks. User X says, you're funny, dude. Thanks, What does Goyim mean to you, says Yosemite? Goyim means nations, no more, no less. That's all that it means. That's what Goyim literally means, nations. Israel is also a Goy. Hey, Jew, says Martin, I'd hang with you no matter what. Wait, what? No matter what my friends say. Thanks, Martin, I appreciate that. Tanakh or Torah, says Goek. Well, the T in Tanakh stands for Torah, and the Nach, Nevi'im Ktuvim, the prophets and the writings all point back to Torah. So I go with the Bible, and I go with the Torah, which is part of the Hebrew Bible. But all of that points back to Torah. All of that points back to the covenant of Moses. Continuing. Oh man, it's such a shame. There's so much here. By the way, people, if I don't get to your chat, leave a comment. I address every single comment that comes my way. Adelia says these channels spread fake information about Islam on purpose. I don't recall saying anything about Islam. The one thing I say about Islam is that I don't know Islam, because my views of Islam, which are non-existent, have been warped by decades of bloodshed, war, and terrorism. So if you're going to judge my channel before knowing anything about what I say about Islam, which is nothing, then good for you. You're deceiving yourself. So, please go with that, and good luck with that. Would you smoke with Snoop Dogg if he converted, says Tortelainer. No, I stopped smoking. I smoked for a good while, but I stopped, so I wouldn't smoke with Snoop Dogg. Also, from what I hear, he gets you really, really high. And no, I take it, in moderation. Even when I did used to smoke weed, I always smoked in moderation. So no, I don't think I would smoke it with Snoop Dogg if he converted. Why does he have to convert for me to smoke with him? I have no idea, but okay. Could have just asked, would you smoke with Snoop? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'd take a hit. I don't know. Let's continue. Why don't Jews follow Leviticus 20? None your business. You'll have to give me the verse as well. What do you mean? Why don't they follow Leviticus 20? Psychometrics is fun. Hey, good to see you again, Psychometrics. What book of the Torah is most interesting to you? Of the Torah, it's Genesis. The account of Genesis, the Torah portion of Genesis is the most interesting to me because it speaks of creation. That's why. Tommy says, how can your views be warped if you don't have any typical illogical Jew? No. It means that when I was growing up and there's war and emergency and terrorism all around me, then I had certain views of the Islam here in the Middle East. As I grew older, I understood, okay, so maybe it's screwed up here and a lot of fundamentalist, extreme religious people here want to slit my throat, but not all of Islam is out to get me. That's how. It's not illogical. It's highly logical. It's simply me progressing throughout life and not being stuck in my old views just by virtue of my surroundings. So you can call it typical illogical Jew, but I say I don't have any. Listen, I have what to say about people who are warmongering, hateful, bloodthirsty people who want to kill me in the name of Allah and who yell Allahu Akbar before blowing up a bus full of civilians. I have a lot to say about that, but I wouldn't make the mistake of taking terrorism and equating it with Islam. But it still is the case that not all Muslims are terrorists. But 99.9% of terrorism here happens, right? That happens is Muslim terrorism. You see what I'm saying? So I could definitely have views, but I'm choosing to give Islam the benefit of the doubt and say, no, I simply don't know it. And when the war is over, war is plural, and we have peace, I will be able to approach the Quran, approach Muhammad, approach Islam and the Hadith and whatever from a more objective point of view. It would be wrong and disingenuous of me to tar all of Islam with one brush simply because I live in such a contentious, war-torn country. So you can call me typical illogical Jew, Tommy, but trust me, it's highly logical. Continuing in the chat, let's go down, down, down. Oh man, I'm a little laggy. Broken says, are you a liberal Israeli or an Orthodox Israeli? Well, I grew up modern Orthodox in Jerusalem, but I don't go with these labels, right? I don't label myself Orthodox or liberal. I say, give me a case, give me a scenario, I'll tell you what I think. That's how I call myself. Tommy says, all I'm saying is don't say that you don't have views. If you have views, which you obviously do because you just explained them. No, I don't have a view. I have what I see with my eyes, right? And what I've seen is plenty, but I still don't want to tar them all with the same brush, just like I won't tar all of the Gazans or people in the West Bank of the Jordan with the same brush. I'm aware of the fact that it's the leadership, the corrupt, warmongering, bloodthirsty, hate-filled, religious, extremist leadership that is causing the issues, not necessarily Joe and Jane Palestine on the street. Do you see? And even though, from what I've gathered, many of the Palestinians cheered when October 7th went down, cheered when, let's say, 9/11 happened, but I still don't want to tar them all with the same brush. So you can think whatever you say. My views on Islam are ones that are warped, and so I choose to say, no, those are not views, they are experiences, but they're not my views. A view would be something that if I actually took the time to research Islam, to read the Quran, to read the Hadith, to see what's going on, but I haven't because I don't want to come with it, into it with such a subjective opinion. So whatever you say, Tommy. Yes, Red Eye Gooner, I am in Israel. I'm in Jerusalem as we speak, broadcasting live on this lovely Saturday night. No one was trying to slit your throat, says MH. Rather, they gave you a place to sleep and eat when you were outsiders, and what you show in response to the kindness showed to your fathers and mothers. Not sure what you mean, dude. I'm not sure what you mean, MH. Okay, tell you what. There is a reason why Israel is fighting constantly in a defensive war. There's a reason why we are constantly in a state of emergency, technically speaking, ever since the establishment of Israel, right? If the Arab Muslims in the area here put down their arms, we could have peace. If we put down our weapons, we would have no one left alive. Or people would leave us alive, force us to convert, likely, right, under pain of death. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you don't live here and you haven't seen it, then it's not really, you can't really say that. But what do you mean? I have been in areas where definitely people were out to get me. So you can't say that. But once again, I'm not saying that individuals who engage in this terrorist behavior is the entirety of the Arab Muslim or Arab Christian, for that matter, population here. Let's see. MMA says, what HN means is that when Germans hunted you, the Palestinians invited you and fed you. What do you mean? Palestinians were also the Jews and Christians living here. Okay, Jews were the original Palestinians because Rome called this place Syria, Palaestina, to make the people of Judea forget about Judea, so they renamed it. I don't understand what you're saying here. I really, really don't. Let's put it this way. I'm sure there are kind-hearted, good Palestinian people, whatever religion, whatever, I don't know. But the history speaks for itself, that there are Arab Muslim nations and fundamentalist terrorist organizations currently still who are trying to annihilate the state of Israel, who are anti-Jewish, anti-Israeli, anti-Zionist, anti-Hebrew, whatever you want to call it. They want me driven into the sea or convert. That's pretty much it. And I've seen this with my own eyes, and you can't tell me that's not the case. Now, Obviously, there's also the case of good people doing good things, which is why I say I go on a case-by-case basis. If you show me a Palestinian that's a good person who does good deeds, I'll be on the side of good, and I'll be on the side of that person who does a good thing. And if you show me an Orthodox Jew who does bad things, I won't be on his side just by virtue of him being Orthodox. PCA says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills prophets and stones those that are sent to, how often would I have gathered your children as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, and you were not I. I don't know what you mean, PC. You'll have to dumb it down for me. Definitely have to dumb it down for me. Let's see. You get no pussy looking like that, says Upstate. Well, I've been married for 23 years now, so, hey, you do whatever you want with that information. Please brush your hair, says Elite. Well, I'm a Nazirite, and so we don't use brushes or combs, so no, I don't think so. Abdul says, liar. Oh, layer. I'm assuming he means liar, but okay, I could be a liar in a layer. This is my layer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, she'akol niyeh bidbaro. Let's see. Let's continue. Harry says, sadly, it is very true. I feel for you. I don't believe in God. I believe what I see. A person makes the choice who they honor and what to believe. Yes, I'm inclined to agree with that, Harry. That's exactly right. That's definitely right. Carol says, how do you feel about creating a greater Israel? I feel that we should probably focus on the Israel we have right now. I don't think that we should create a greater Israel if it would mean conquering land that is not currently ours, let's say, or I came out wrong. I'm not a fan of Greater Israel. Also, there are no precise borders to Greater Israel, and nobody ever knows what the precise borders are, which is why I say let's deal with the here and now rather than expand the territory. Brandon says, the hypothetical things you're saying would be done to you is in fact what you are doing to another group, genocide. No, you are mistaken. The only genocide going on is against the Jews. If the IDF wanted to genocide all of the Palestinians, they would have done so very quickly and very efficiently. The fact is that they brought humanitarian aid into a war zone, and they did whatever they could before the war started and after the war started to minimize civilian casualty, while Hamas did everything in its power to maximize civilian casualty in order to stir up their propaganda machine and keep it running. Now, of course, there are psychopaths and individuals who do harmful, heinous, anti-human things. They belong in prison. They should be indicted, tried, and put in prison. So there you go. Oh man, the chat is moving so quickly I can't really see what's going on. But I'm trying to go down. Okay. Hey Papa, says Anders, can you debate someone with real opinion? First, I'm not a debater, right? I'm just talking to people. I'm not a debater. Second of all, I suppose I could, but I have no idea if I could. It depends. Are Jewish men who marry non-Jewish Christian women and have therefore non-Jewish children condemned officially in Judaism? Asks Daniel. Condemned? What do you mean condemned? They are simply cut off from the branch that they are sitting on, right? If they choose to marry a non-Jewish woman, the kids will not be Jewish, just like you said, meaning that they sort of cut themselves off from the continuation of the tribes. Can you read Hebrew? Scott says. Yes, I can. I can read Hebrew, and I can also read Eretz Yisrael Aramaic. Let's continue. Your wife ever talk? Oh, wait, sorry, something happened? The chat just jumped again? Oh, and now YouTube, come on YouTube, what are you doing to me? Hang on a second. It just jumped, but let's see. I'll do this on the phone before I can get the chat back. May you get the same things you are doing against humanity. Okay, I personally am not doing a thing, but okay, go for it. Whatever you want to think, that's cool. That's why we are having this tiny little chat here. Oh wait, let's continue. Whoa, okay. Jesus was Jewish and he is Lord, says Rebek. Rebek? Yes, Rebek. Okay, good for you. You can think that. Are you Christian? Asks Code Phantom. I am not. Your ninja says, how believing that we are accident in our life, pointless, less ridicule than believing in God? I don't understand what that means, your ninja. Can you dumb it down for me? Let's read that again. How believing that we are accident and that our life is pointless, less ridiculous than believing in God. Okay, so you're talking about people who believe we are just accidents. That's a good question. I mean, you could think both at the same time. You can think that there is a God and that he has nothing to do with creation and that he just created it and left it to its own devices, which would make belief in a deity, but believing that deity has nothing to do. I mean, that's not my belief, but let's continue. Americans, says Botman, this is where your taxes go to. No, they actually, 80% from what I've gathered, go back to America, right? And the other 20% does go to Israel to some degree. So I suppose some of it went to me. Hooray! But I'm American, so. Did Hebrew and Aramaic come naturally to you? Well, Hebrew, I grew up in Israel to parents and who spoke English and Hebrew. So yeah. As for Aramaic, no, it came from religious studies. The Talmud and the Zohar. That's where I get the Eretz Yisrael Aramaic. Based history says, how do you have a wife and look like this, bruh? Well, you'll have to ask her. I have no idea. Hey, what do you say, kid? How can I have a wife when I look like this? Oh, he doesn't know either. Well, my kids don't know either. What are you going to do? Okay. Oh, a super chat came in. Let's go with that. Hang on a second. Maybe. I'm not sure. Love you, my brother, says Dr. Hamilton. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Much love to everyone. Much love to all of you. Mr. Senior Junior, he looks like Pretty before MSNBC photoshopped him. I'm not sure who Pretty is, but thank you. By the way, all of the money here that I get the revenue from, right? YouTube takes its cut. I get the revenue. It will all go to charity. I've only been monetized for like 2.5 weeks, so I haven't been paid yet. But when I do, it will be as transparent as possible. We've raised almost 2,000 shekels already. It will all go to charity, and I'll have a proper post, and tell you where that money is going. And this is how it's gonna roll. The new JM says, how do you feel about Americans that look at the results of our involvement in the Middle East and think it has been counterproductive? Well, I think that if you're going to go with the America first, it should be America first. And if Israel gets less money because of America first, so be it. America needs to take care of its own society, its own civilization, its own. It needs to take care of its own. And from what I've gathered, the U.S. has so much trouble right now. And maybe that's always the case, but the U.S. and the higher ups, right, the congressmen, the statesmen, the senators, the people, in government, they have their own interests, and they have American interests at heart, I believe, as well. Let's continue. Arkanoid says, how can you not believe in God, but believe in different dimensions? Are you talking to me or someone else? Because I definitely believe in both. Petty was the chump. Petty was the chump, what? Deleted by ICE. Well, I don't know who Petty is, and I know that ICE are what? This immigration enforcement agency? McDonald says, I love how some of the anti-Jewish trolls think you care about what they think in this small chat. Well, again, if they're going to have an actual discussion, I'll have the discussion with them. But if they're just spouting anti-Jewish troll rhetoric, I say, yes, let it out. Right? Let them empty out of the hate, empty all the vitriol, send it at me, gimme, for two reasons. First, it might mean that they get rid of all their hate, and they have room for love and acceptance and embracing of other people. Second, it's good for the algorithm, right? Because engagement of positive or negative, the kind of positive and negative engagement is engagement, which is good for the algorithm. So I'm good with it either way. But yeah, I definitely don't care if they're just trolling, and I'll definitely roll with the trolls. Binge Fringe says, Bing Fringe, how do you feel about non-Jews reading the Talmud? I mean, the Talmud is basically debates and discussions and legend and lore and myth. That was a few hundred years in the making before they actually wrote it down. And it pertains to the Mishnah, which was the law, right, that came before, right, the discussions on the oral traditions. And so how do I feel about it? They can do whatever they want. What do you mean, how do I feel? Am I supposed to feel a certain way? What was your job in the IDF, says Jazzy? I was a field medic until 5 years ago. I did mandatory service. I did reserve duty until I was 38, and I was discharged. I was supposed to be there till I was 40, but my platoon was dismantled. The younger ones got sent to different platoons, and the ones who were about to be discharged, like me, within the next year or two, they just discharged us early. So that's what I did. I was a field medic, and I also took care of Palestinian security prisoners. I took care of infiltrators from Sudan. I took care of Jews and Muslims and Christians and Arabs. I took care of all the different populations, pretty much. Definitely. Can you explain your Nazirite vow? Says Soul of the Old Stone. Well, the Nazirite vow was in Numbers 6. I took on a Samson Nazirite vow, but what do you mean by explain? For me, it's a physical, external manifestation of a spiritual, internal covenant between me and Adonai. That's what it is. Serious question, who is Jesus of Nazareth for you, asks Alexander. Well, he's a dead Hebrew man. No more, no less. What do you do for a living, DJ says. I'm a writer. That's what I do for a living. Right now I'm doing copywriting. Do you shower, says K14. Yes, I do shower regularly, I'm happy to say. Definitely happy to say that I shower. If I didn't shower, then maybe my wife would have something to say about it, and my kids for that matter. Pizza is on him this round, says Gray Fox. Well, what type of pizza? It really does depend. You're not American, you're Jewish, go back to Israel because she speaks so highly of it. Well, I am in Israel. What I mean is I'm an American born abroad, but I hold an American passport. I don't vote and I don't have a say in what goes on in America. I mean, I could technically vote as an American citizen abroad, but I don't because I don't live there, so I shouldn't have a say on what goes on there. So I don't. You belong to hell, says Adelia. Well, there's no Jewish hell, so okay, I do. There you go. Let's see. Have you ever read the Christian Bible? Just wondering. Yes, Julie, I read the New Testament once. I loved the gospel, but I did not love anything really about the Acts, letters, or Revelation. Sarkis says, not a singular idea what is happening here, nor do I care, but I must say you have this mad scientist in an Armageddon movie that nobody believes until it's too late. Look about you, and I fuck with it. Thanks, Sarkis, I appreciate that. Do you believe most stories of Jesus doing miracles is just fairy tales, says Lookin? No, I believe that there were people who could warp and bend and manipulate the laws of nature, and that's precisely what that was. Jesus wasn't alone in the ability to use the laws of nature to invoke certain, let's say, entities, demonic and angelic alike. So I don't believe it's fairy tales, but I don't mind if it's fairy tales. The question is the wisdom that can be derived from it. That's why I don't mind if the entire Bible is a fairy tale. It's a wisdom there, right? There's wisdom to be gained, more of what not to do than what to do, incidentally. MH says, what made you people kill kids and claim that action legit? And how do you consider kids are extremists? I didn't say kids are extremists, dumbass. I said Hamas is using its own population, puts them in the line of fire, uses them as cannon fodder to maximize civilian casualties for purposes of propaganda and religious extremism, and they love to die and kill others in the name of Allah, and they think it's the best thing ever. And the more Jews they kill, the more Israelis they kill, the more Zionists they kill, the more money their families get, which is why kids are innocent. But the kids are brainwashed. We need to de-radicalize Israel, and we need to de-radicalize the Palestinians. So that's what I said, and you misrepresenting what I said just shows how illegitimate you are. Let's continue. Bro is a Jew, he hates Jesus. NKO Tur says, again, wrong. I think that if I was around at the time, I would have followed him myself. So, people, you need to stop spouting bullshit. You really, really, really do, because you're putting words in my mouth and beliefs in my mind that have not crossed my mind or my heart or my lips. Oy vey, says Twisted Fire X. You're darn right, oy vey. Let's continue. People don't know how to listen. They just want to tell you their opinions. The world's knowledge is really in a slumber, says Dizzy King. Well, look, this is the internet, man. I expect nothing less of the internet. This is what it is. And this is why I don't ban people. I don't kick people out. I don't put people in timeouts. I let the haters hate. I let the trolls troll. I let the spammers spam. This is the nature of having free speech. And if it means that I get hate and vitriol every other sentence, then yeah, that's what it's going to do. And you know what? It's worth it. To have these discussions, to broadcast live from Jerusalem, this is no small thing. This is nothing to, really, really no small thing. Do you believe non-Jews are cattle, says the laziest? No, I do not. I believe they are human beings like you and me with a divine soul. Does everyone with your belief let their hair dread? Asks Kim Drew. Well, Nazirites don't have to let their hair dread. You can use your fingers to separate the hairs and style your hair, but not a comb and not a brush, because those are designed to rip out hairs, and the Nazirite man or woman are commanded to let their hair grow wild. However, there are also bald Nazirites, people who are bald, who took the vow after their hair was gone, and they are Nazirites, simply hairless Nazirites. So not everyone who is a Nazirite lets their hair dread, but some of them definitely do. Why would God want y'all not to use brushes and combs? Because the brush and the comb are designed to rip out hairs, and the hairs represent a certain divine revelation, right? The human being was made in the image of God. The crown, right, of the head, where the hair grows from organically, that's the highest part of the human being, corresponding with the divine emanation known as crown. And this is called the crown of the head, and this is a crown of separation, right, or a crown of consecration. That's what it's called in Numbers 6. That's why. Bing Fringe, the Nazirite is a man or woman of the Hebrew tribes taking on the vow. I was an Orthodox Jew, proper Orthodox, until my mid-20s or so, and then I took a step back from keeping strict rabbinic law. I had my reasons, but the point is, Orthodoxy is still very much my home and very much my root in Judaism. I just don't define myself as religious. I don't put a label of Orthodox on me, and that's why. Lifelong Nazirite or temporary, the dad-father? No, I'm a Samson Nazirite, which is a lifelong vow until the grave. And even those who take a temporary Nazirite's vow these days must remain full-time Nazirites until they can bring the offerings. In other words, if I take it for like 2 months, 30 days is the minimum. If I take it for 60 days or 5 years or 20 years and the time is up, I still cannot actually fulfill the vow properly until I bring the offerings, right? The sin offering and the Thanksgiving offering. A super chat came in. Let's go with that. What does a Nazareth think about giving tithe? Can you explain why they gave tithe? I don't know what a Nazareth is, JP. A Nazareth is somebody either who lives in a Nazareth, which can be a Hebrew or a Muslim or a Christian, or if you mean Nazarene, those are people who live in Nazareth or people who follow Jesus but are not the classic Christians. They are also Nazarenes. So I'm not a Nazareth or a Nazarene, I'm simply a Nazirite. As for tithes, there are different types of tithes or ma'asrot that need to be given. Why they give a tithe? Because that's what it says in the Torah and also in the Bible. It is also said, this is one of the only times when the prophet says that God said that he can be tested with this, right? Uvchanuni na bazot. Test me in this, says God, if you bring your tithe and you don't see the abundance flow your way. So people give a tithe usually of their paycheck, or if they get a sum of money, they'll give a tithe. And that's basically a tenth. That's why people give it, because giving charity is part of the Hebrew way, it is part of the Torah, and it is part of something that is done on a regular basis. Not everybody gives it properly to the Levites. The Levites don't give it properly to the priests, as it's supposed to be a tenth of a tenth, but people do regularly give charity. If it's not a tithe, then it's something else. But charity is a big part of the Torah. Sazbad asks, do you want to dig a channel around the Gulf of Suez through Gaza? I have no idea what you're talking about. I certainly don't, but okay. LOL Cool J, yeah, it's a throwback to the 90s. How do you feel about being a fake Jew and actually a Khazar? Well, if I am a Khazari, it means that they all, right, the Khazarian kingdom who converted many hundreds of years ago, it would mean that I'm still de facto 100% a Jew. All this real Jew, fake Jew business is just hateful, mindless hatred, by the way, and it means absolutely nothing, because I could be a Gentile, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, I don't know, my entire life. If I converted this very morning, I'm 100% a Jew, because when you take on this covenant, be it by birth or be it by conversion, you are 100% part of the Hebrew tribes, and this whole fake Jew, real Jew business is just drummed up by people who A, know absolutely nothing about the Torah, or they would know that a convert is a convert. If there was actually such a thing as a real Jew or a fake Jew, there would be no conversion. If it was actually lineage and blood that made the big difference, there would be no conversion. But there is, and this harkens back to the Torah. It's not even the prophets or the writings or the scrolls. It's right there in the Torah. So, you're mistaken about that. That's what I'm saying. You're like 100% mistaken. Why don't you follow last prophet Muhammad Saw? Asks Roshana Sahik. Roshana Sahik. I don't follow Muhammad because he's not considered a proper prophet for the Hebrew people. He may have been a prophet to his people. Also, we don't believe in the last prophet idea. There is no final revelation. There is no final prophet. The revelation is ongoing. The prophets are ongoing. The spirit of prophecy after the destruction of the Second Temple was given, right? The Hebrew spirit of prophecy, they say, was given to children and fools. However, the spirit is indeed making a comeback. And the famous Nazirite, Rabbi David Kohen in Jerusalem, he said that the Naziriteship is a stepping stone to prophecy. Also, there will be a time when God will pour his spirit upon all flesh, which means that we will all be prophets. Okay, let's continue. Please repent and turn to the Lord. What you just said about Jesus is crazy. Our Lord and Savior, oh me mental ape. Well, oh me mental ape, I think he's just a dead guy, no more, no less, right? And where I draw the line is, like I say, him alive, cool. Him being dead, cool. Him being resurrected, cool. Him ascending, cool. But he's not a God. He's not a God incarnate. All of those other things, the previous four things I mentioned, living, dying, resurrecting, and ascending, have their roots in the Hebrew Bible. A God in flesh has no such root in the Hebrew Torah. A God incarnate, right, has no such root in the Hebrew Torah. Maybe other nations or faiths have such a revelation. We don't. That's why we do not accept Jesus as God. He could have been, as far as I'm concerned, a potential sage and prophet and king and all that until he died. And when he died, his reign ended. We do not follow the dead. We follow in their footsteps. We take ideas and wisdom from what they wrote and what they did, but we do not follow the dead. We do not follow the dead. The Torah is a living Torah for living people. So there you go. Do you believe in a higher power, asks Arthur the Finest. Yes, I do, but I don't know God, right? All I know is how the divine reveals himself to me. And the revelations are infinite, right? And they have their root in the 10 Sfirot, right? In the tree of life. Omi says, you worship a demon and are waiting for the Antichrist. And what are you basing that on? I'd love to know what you're basing that on. These trolls make me laugh. They have so little idea of what they're talking about when it comes to me. When it's their faith and their culture and their Bible, of course they know a lot more than me. Nobody's disputing that. But when they say what I believe and what I think and what I know and what I do, it's simply and utterly their own projection, and I have nothing to do with it, and all I can say is, okay, bruh. Nate says, any thoughts on the third temple to be built soon? Yes, that it would be great if it was a vegan temple that would be built. I have no idea how it will come to pass, but also that we don't need a temple. We don't need a temple, we don't need a king, right, or a Messiah, an anointed one. We don't need any of the physical externalities. What we need is to return to the Torah, to the commandments, to the covenant. We can transcend all of those externalities. We can transcend all of those middlemen. Go back to Eden, I say, the mindset of Eden, where it was only humanity, nature, the divine revelation. That's how it was. There were no faiths or cultures or religions or tongues, right? And there were no temples or kings or anointed ones. It was a very simple, straightforward way of being. Now, we were kicked out of Eden, so we are not quite there, but bringing in and inviting elements of Eden into one's life here can help to elevate oneself and one's surroundings. So it will be a vegan temple, I hope, and for all nations, right? A house of prayer and worship. That's what I'm saying. So the temple doesn't mean nothing. No, the temple, Steve Williams, is an important thing. However, it's not the be-all, end-all. The temple is supposed to facilitate unity of the divine masculine presence and the divine feminine presence, right? The temple was there for the people. It says, they shall make me a temple and I will dwell within them. It doesn't say I will dwell in it. It says I will dwell in them, meaning that it's a means to an end. But if you are able to circumvent, if you will, or transcend the means to that end, and get to that end in a more Edenic way, without the need for ritual worship, without the need for priests, Levites, and Israelites at the temple, without the need of spilling blood, of giving grain offering, or wine, or blood, or water, any of that, then that's something that you can do. You can transcend some shampoo on that scalp, Viper says, and I do regularly, but thank you for asking. How long have you been growing your hair? About 17 years or so? About 17 years. I took my vow 15 years ago, but the hair has been growing for something like 15 years. Something like that. Let's continue. Why was Job a Gentile included in the Old Testament, says America First? Good question. Like I said, it's about the wisdom. It's about the wisdom. Also, you could make the argument, why was Bilam and Balak, right, the king of Moab, why did they receive an entire portion, the portion of Balak, just for themselves in the Torah? It's because there's wisdom to be gained from there, even if it's not precisely about the Hebrew people. Right? Very famously, Rabbi Yitzchak in the beginning of the Torah says, the Torah should have started with the commandments. Why does it start with this long, long account of creation and the 20 generations until Abraham came to the scene? It's because there's wisdom to be gained there. That's why. Now, whether or not you believe it's mythology or legend or folklore or fairy tales, that's irrelevant. It's there to give us wisdom. It's there to guide us. And that's why all of those things were included, including the story of Job. Now, there are those who say that Job is all allegorical, and there are those who say, no, it actually happened that way. I could take it or leave it. It could go either way. If you are vegan, says BMW, then eat Indian food. It's great vegetarian food. Vegetarian or vegan, that's a big difference. What an ugly creature, says Gods and Me. They look disgusting. Yes, I am disgusting and ugly. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone thinks that, but I do appreciate what you're saying, and I'll take it under advisement. Look, man, this is not a popularity contest. I'm not running for any kind of beauty pageant either. Bob the Builder, good to see you again. I added the, I hope you don't mind. Hey again, I'm a Christian preacher. I just want to apologize on behalf of those bearing that name and saying nasty things. I just love Hebrew studies and I enjoy your perspectives on Torah. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Bob. I really do appreciate it. And again, people are free to say what they will. This is what the internet is for. This is what it's for. This is how it goes down. And I'm very happy to accept their hate and their embrace and the vitriol and the encouragement. I embrace it all. I take it all in. Okay. Why do so many hate Jews? That's a good question. Hi, am I? Good to see you again. Indeed, many people hate Jews. Sometimes it's just built and baked right into their culture or faith or society or, history. But I don't know. Far be it from me. You need to ask them. You really need to ask them. Norman 1 says, difficult religious chaos. Squeeze me out some truth. Well, are you talking about the Torah or the Bible at large or this live stream? James says, Baal HaSulam and Kabbalah. Yes, Baal HaSulam, Rabbi Yehuda Levi Ashlag and Kabbalah. What about it? What about him? What about Baal HaSulam, James Hampton? Mr. Jack says, this must be a rare deep water Jew. Well, you know what? You could consider me rare. Look, Nazirites are few and far between, but hopefully not for very long, right? The Naziriteship is also making a comeback, and there are more Hebrew Nazarites taking the vow every single day, I would think. Or maybe, if not every single day, then they are definitely there. Proc says, sir, please answer my question. I'm sorry, man. The chat is going very rapidly. If I don't get to your question, first of all, tag me. I might see it. Second of all, leave it in the comment, because I address every comment that comes my way. If I don't get it in the chat, I'll get it in the comment. Andrew says, hey, if you want to meet some Israeli-born Israelis that are good people, Hebrew Canaanite. I'm not sure who Hebrew Canaanite is, but okay. Well, I've met plenty of Israeli-born Israelis, seeing that I was born in Israel, and I've been in Israel pretty much my whole life. James Hampton, what about Baal HaSulam and Kabbalah? What about it? Do you eat fish and egg or not? No, I don't eat fish. I don't eat eggs, silly man. And I don't eat meat, right? I don't eat anything. I don't eat honey. I'm a vegan. Bruh, your heart is gold, says BMW, and I'm inclined to say so is everybody else's until they prove me otherwise. I'm inclined to say that people have golden hearts. Don't y'all worship Baal and Molech, Satan? No, Labyrinth, we do not. We worship Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, Adonai, the Hebrew God, and those are just names, right? Those are just revelations. We don't worship the name, we worship the God. So no, Baal and Molech, we are specifically cautioned and warned against worshiping them. However, some people do worship Satan, I suppose, but Satan is also just an adversary. That's what Satan means in Hebrew. He wants to know what you're drinking, Rambling says. I'm drinking tea. Tonight I'm drinking green tea, right? Yes, green tea, organic green tea. And I wanted to add lemon before I went live, but I forgot, so it's just plain green tea. Joshua Wynn says, what's your take on the Erev Rav? Should we be concerned? No, I don't think we should be concerned. The Erev Rav are traditionally the people who left Egypt with the Exodus, right, and with the Hebrew tribes. And they, traditionally, again, were the ones who caused all the brouhahas and the uproars and the kerfuffles in the desert, the ones who were murmuring, the ones who were moaning and bitching and complaining. Now, maybe it was just the commentary pinning it on Erev Rav, maybe not, but Erev Rav are considered people who are here and not here, right? Who are sort of part of the people, but kind of working and undermining the people of Israel. What's my take on them? That I don't like to generalize. I take things on an individual, case-by-case basis. If you point to someone and say, here's an Erev Rav, and here's what they do, and here's why you should be against it or concerned, then I would say, okay, let's look at the facts, let's look at the scenario. So should we be concerned? Far be it for me to say what you should do. I am not concerned about the Erev Rav. I'm concerned about me doing my own thing, and hopefully doing it righteously and justly and humbly, but I'm also very, very frail and fragile. I'm also fallen. I'm also a sinner, but I'm trying to better my ways and repent every single day. But to be concerned about Erev Rav, no, just, keep your mind on what you need to do, and the rest will work itself out of its own accord. Are you a Christian or Jew, says BMW. I am a Jew. Definitely a Jew. Oh wait, was this another super chat that came in? Or was it a different one? No, it was the same one, I'm sorry. The Bible admits many gods exist. Yes, there are many gods. The thing is that we treat them as revelations of God and not God. Right? The fragmentation into the different deities and forces of nature that were deified, the different pantheons, right? There are, of course, many gods, not for the Hebrew people. The many gods are for others, right? Other nations, other faiths, but the Hebrew people worship the Hebrew God. The thing is that the revelations of God are many, and some people make the mistake, or people at the time made the mistake of saying, oh, the God of this, the God of that, right? Hebrew people. And then with the Torah, it was like, nope, one God. It fragments in so far as revelations and garments and influences and emanations are concerned. That is true, but there's only one God, right? Unknowable, untouchable, unthinkable, inconceivable. And so that's it. KS says, have you experienced Hashem? Every single day. Every single day I've experienced Hashem. Hashem means the name. That's what people say instead of saying God's name. So yes, definitely have. Were you raised Jewish? Stupos asks. Yes, I was raised Orthodox here in Jerusalem. Sir, asks Envy, why do Jews drink blood from circumcised babies? They don't. The Jews, the moil who performs the circumcision, sucks out some blood out of the womb, out of the wound, and spits it out. It does not, because drinking blood and eating blood of any kind is forbidden several times in the Torah. So we do not drink blood. That's not the case at all. Have you experienced God directly? I've experienced revelations of God, very direct indeed in my life. Yes, I have experienced revelations of God directly, be it in dreams, be it in a vision or two. Yes, definitely yes. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam copied Akhenaten. Akhenaten says 8x9. Now look, the Hebrew faith, right at the time, took all kinds of different elements from the pantheon of gods of the religions that were around at the time. They sort of made it their own in a kosher way, right? Certain names of God which appear in the Hebrew Torah, in the Bible, are names that used to belong to Canaanite deities. When the Hebrew tribes took them for themselves, they decided this is not a deity, it is a name corresponding to a revelation of God and not a God in and of itself. Therein lies the difference. So even if we use the same name corresponding to some deity in the Canaanite version, it's a revelation of one God in the Hebrew. Do you see the difference? That's the main difference. Why is Yarmulke spelled like that? Jamie asks. I thought it was Yarmulke. No, Yarmulke is Hebrew. Hebrew is Yare Mulka. Ka instead of Ya. Ya is one of the Hebrew names for God, but instead of saying Ya, they say Ka. Just like instead of Elohim, they say Elokim, right? Or instead of Yod Kei Vav Hei, some people say Yod Kei Vav Kei. They do the K instead of a H, right? A Kuf instead of a Hey, in order to not desecrate, accidentally or inadvertently desecrate or make plain a sacred name. So Yarmulke is a kind of warped version of yare mulya. Yare mulya literally means fearful before God. Putting on a small hat, a yarmulke, skull cap, head covering is a sign that you are fearful before God, and it's a sign of knowing that there's something above you. And incidentally, the reason why I don't wear one is twofold. First, I have a crown of separation on my head. Were I to put a piece of fabric on top of it, it would be sort of negating it and kind of going against the crown of separation of the Nazirite. Second, and this is why my kids don't have yarmulkes, is because nowadays, first of all, it's only, well, let's put it this way. It causes a lot of division, separation, angst, pride, vanity, arrogance, and just a whole lot of negative crap. So, no head covering. No head covering, not for me or for my kids. D. Griff says, can you explain Elohim? Elohim is a name that means, it's the plural of Eloha, right? It's a duality, at least, right? Elohim, it's the plural. Elohim is the name that corresponds to 3 different sfirot, depending on how you spell it and how you utter it, let's say. Or not utter it, but how you view it. Okay? It corresponds to 3 different divine revelations, primarily on the left side, what's called gvura, or judgment, or wrath, or anger. But the topmost one is Yod Hei Vav Hei, spelled with the nikud, right? With the spelling of Elohim in the what's it called? In the the vowels. Okay. BMW, you're such a joke, says Royale. Okay, what did he say? Jews, Hindu, and Christian, we are as like brother. Yes, very well could be. It could be. I mean, we're not brothers in that sense, but we are brothers in humanity. And that's true to all human beings. So I go with that. Ronnie Rock says, can you eat halal food if kosher food is not available? Similar to how Muslims can eat kosher food. No, there are differences between halal and kosher. Certain things it might be the case, and certain things it's not the case. Even though we do have the same sort of unclean and clean animals, there's something about the way, right, the kosher shechting, the slaughtering, for instance, the kosher butchering, that differs from halal. So when it comes to meat and poultry, you can't. When it comes to, let's say, fish and other things, maybe you can. But no, from what I know, halal, right, people who keep halal can eat kosher, but not everybody who keeps kosher can eat halal. Under certain conditions, yes. I think most of the conditions, no, especially if it has to do with animal products. This guy sucks babies, says Dolph was right. Well, I've sucked the cheeks of babies when I kiss them, and I've plotzed them, you know. So do you consider that sucking babies? I don't know. Prague says, sir, how do I connect you to ask and learn about Judaism? Because there are many negative things to Judaism on the internet. Hey, hit me up if you want in the DMs. Every one of you if you want. Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree. And it's Hebrew Nazarite on X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I don't post there much, but I'm there for the DMs. So if you want to hit me up, go ahead and hit me up. I'm always up for discussion if I can afford, if I have the time. So yeah. What up, you crazy fuck? Hey, sure thing, good to see you again. Unless it was a different sure thing, but I think it was you. What up? Oh, it's all good. I had a lovely Shabbos, and I'm having a lovely Saturday night. I really, really am. You guys are so cool. It's just over an hour, and I will take the time right now to say thank you to all of you. I'm not ending the live stream, but I want to, as an aside, I definitely appreciate your time and your kind and gentle attention, right? The likes, the subs, the views, the haters, the lovers, the trolls, the embracers, the encouragers, the one who take one look at me as they're swiping and go, blech, and swipe up. The ones who curse me, the ones who bless me. I take it all with an open heart and an open mind. It's so much fun to engage with you. I don't take it for granted. You're taking time out of your day, out of your night, out of your life. And we're doing this now, those watching now, those watching later. And it's live, and it's raw, and it's happening right now. Magical. This is what it is. Definitely magical. For sure. You're too optimistic, says Francis. Yes, I suppose I am. But you know what? In my experience, until something comes along that truly makes me lose faith in reality, it's worth it to be optimistic. Now, I'm not foolishly optimistic. Maybe sometimes I am. But I am definitely an optimist. Definitely an optimist. Jojo says, why do you hate Muslim if they're descendants of Ishmael? Again, you're assuming things. I did not say anything of the sort. You can't you can't attribute things to me that I haven't said. I do not hate Muslims. I want to live with my Ishmaelite cousins, right, in peace and prosperity on this land. That's what I would want. So I don't hate Muslims, Jojo. And why would you assume that I do? Isn't that the greater question? Isn't that the bigger question? Why the fuck would you assume that? How screwed up is that? Ugh. All right. What's your favorite bit of wisdom, says Ben, you have learned from the Torah or any religious text? My favorite bit of wisdom is humility, to be humble. That's it. All God wants us to do is to be humble, right? To walk before God with humility. Humility is the key to all positive attributes. Humility is the key to all positive personality traits. Go with humility, and you will get everything in this life and every other life. Why don't you all cut your hair? What do you mean all? I don't know what you mean. I don't cut my hair because I'm a Nazirite, but other people do cut their hair for different reasons. Did you used to have people from Birthright come by and have a talk, says Cash Advance? No, I've never spoken to people from Birthright. Why, do you think I should? I know a couple of people who guide Birthright, tour guides who do the Birthright thing on a regular basis. Do you think I should talk to them? VeilQuest says, is there any value in the occult Kabbalah for Gentiles, or would you consider it evil? So the occult Kabbalah is something that I've never studied, never had anything to do with, so I don't know anything about it. I've been a student of the Tree of Life ever since I'm 16. But the occult Kabbalah, with a Q, is something that I've never touched, nor do I plan on touching it. I go with the traditional Hebrew Kabbalah, and I'm not a Lurianic either. I go with the Kabbalah up until the time of Rabbi Yitzchak Luria. The Kabbalah that I've been into for over a decade now is the Kabbalah of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the Ramak. That's what I go with, and maybe at some point I will go back to studying Lurianic teachings. I don't know. I don't think so, but I might. So I don't know if there's any value in the occult Kabbalah for Gentiles. I have no idea, because I've never studied it. I've never gone even close to it. I don't consider it to be the Kabbalah for me, based on different things that I've read. I mean, only the beginnings of things, and I was like, no, this is not the kosher Kabbalah for me. So yeah. Why don't you cut hair as you are Nazirite? Well, that's why, because the hair, we are commanded, the Nazirites, to grow our hair long and wild, right? Or not long, but wild, because the hair represents a certain divine revelation known as the crown. And so that's why we grow it from the crown of the head. Nazirites, for instance, don't need to have a beard. That's a whole other story. Ooh, another super chat came in. Let's go with that. JP says, why didn't God accept Cain's offering? And what do you say was the mark that God gave him? Well, I wouldn't know what the mark was. A physical one, a metaphysical one. The reason that he didn't accept it is there in their exchange. He tells him, if you do better, then you'll be able to carry the burden. Which means that we can infer that Cain did not give it his best. He did not give it his all. And what God told him then, when they had their quick dialogue there, is that, you know what? You may feel bad about me rejecting your offering, but take a look at why I rejected the offering. It's because you ought to do better. You can do better. It behooves you to do better. So if you do better, and you better your ways, and you go all in, like your brother did, if you go all in, you will not be rejected. But you can't half-ass this, right? Now, this is not to say that people can't do things the way they want to do, but if there's any wisdom to be learned from God rejecting Cain's offering, is that half-assing things is not the way to do it. You should full-ass it or whole-ass it, however you want to see it. But if you want to half-ass things, let's say in the beginning or on the way to something, far be it from me to be a judge. But what God was telling all of humanity right there is, don't half-ass it. If you're going to commit to something, commit to it in fullness. You may definitely fall short of the mark. You may fall short of the ideal, right? You may not be able to reach that perfection, because what's perfect, right? That's an absolute. You can't actually attain it, but shooting for it and giving it your best is paramount. Giving it your best is paramount. Something Dr. Jordan Peterson says. He says, choose one thing, right, that you want to do and aim entirely at that. And that's sort of what he was telling him there. It's like, do better, aim better, and your results will be better. I think that's what God said to him, right? More or less, right? He says, sin crouches, right, at the door or at the opening, and you can still get the better of it, right? Don't lay the responsibility of your shortcomings at the fact that the world is unjust. Try laying it at your own feet first. Obviously, the world is unjust. Obviously, we are all victims of something. The question is, what do you do with it? Do you act like a victim and bitch and cry and moan about it? Or do you take the responsibility? It may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. Or you can do both. You can definitely bitch and moan and complain and still say, and you know what? Despite the unjust nature of the world, despite the disparities of the world, despite the way it's so unfair, I'm going to try and do my best anyway, despite the odds that are against me, despite the circumstances and situations that I've been put in, the genetics that I'm born with, the place that the environment I'm born into, right? That whole nature-nurture thing. Like, despite all of that, I still have free will. I still draw breath, and I can still make a difference in my life and in the lives of those around me. MS says, do Jews believe they are superior to Goys? Some probably do. I don't go for that supremacy bullshit. If not, then why see Jews in the Epstein files? I don't know. I haven't gone through the Epstein files, so I have no idea. Say the Goyim are cattle, because there are people who think the Goyim are cattle. There are people who think the Goyim have no divine soul, but they have a beastly or animal soul. There are people who think that Jews are better. I don't think that. I think we are all made in God's image. I think we all have the duty and the responsibility, and certainly the capacity and potential to manifest that divine image in which we were uniquely created, each and every one of us, in fullness, right? To give our gift to the world, as David Data says, in the way of the superior man. But people like to feel better than other people. And one great way to feel better about yourself is to put other people down. Gary Vee says, right, there are two ways to build the tallest building in town. One, build the tallest building in town. Two, wreck all the other buildings, and your building will be the tallest in town by virtue of you wrecking others. So I'm of the opinion of make yourself great. Don't make others little just to be great. Make yourself great, actually. Let's continue. Are you Zionist? All Jews are Zionists? No, that's not true, Vey. Not all Jews are Zionists. Some Jews are anti-Zionist in the sense of only modern-day Zionism. All Jews, I suppose, would be for the biblical Zionism in Deuteronomy, right, where Moses says you're going to the land, and if you forsake the covenant, you'll be kicked out, but then you'll come back. That's Zionism. But then you have the modern-day Zionism, right, that more secular, socialist, 19th century Zionism. That's, I think, what people mean when they say they are anti-Zionist. And so some Jews are indeed anti-Zionist. Nate says, I saw reality shake and change before my eyes. I know Jesus Christ, he is extremely powerful and merciful beyond compare. He loves the Jews, all his people. His return is imminent, he says. If you say so, Nate. If you say so. Were you ever in a band? I mean, I play guitar, but I'm not in a band. How am I? If not, what's your favorite song? Well, you know, favorite songs, they change all the time. But, you know, I'm a Pink Floyd and Radiohead man. Those are my two pillars. Pink Floyd and Radiohead. That's what I go with. That's what I go for. Hey, Connor is here again. Hey, Connor. That was a fake drinking and say ha? Danrod? A fake drinking? What? What are you talking about, man? Have you seen Life of Brian? Of course I've seen Life of Brian, and I've immensely enjoyed it. Who said that? Wait, sorry, the chat just jumped. I didn't see who said that. Damn it. I missed who said that, but whoever, yes. Yes. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Love that line. Love that line. Okay. Chris says, have you ever experienced an answered prayer? If so, how? Many of my prayers have been answered. Some of them not precisely in the way that I would have wanted, but definitely prayers have been answered. I'll give you the classic example. I was working at a dead-end minimum wage or near minimum wage security guard job. And while I was going to film school, something like 12 years ago, and I was praying to God to get me out of this job, give me something that I can do that's better, something that I can do that will pay the bills, that I can actually feel fulfilled by. And what happened was that I accidentally, I didn't take care of my gun, and it was stolen. My gun was stolen, or I think it was stolen, I don't know. Anyway, I had my gun either stolen or I lost it because of my carelessness, and it was indeed 100% my fault. But what happened was that I am not able, or at least for a few years, I was not able to continue working with as a security guard because I could not get a weapons license. Or rather, it's not like I tried, right? But I knew that, okay, now is the time for a change. And so my prayers were answered, but I still had to stand trial. I was found guilty. I mean, I admitted, right? I admitted guilty. And I got like 90 hours or 120 hours of community service. And I did my time, and that's it. So I got what I wanted, but not precisely how I would have gone about it. I went to the police station that morning to file a complaint and tell them my gun was stolen. But then I found myself being interrogated under warning, because they thought maybe I had like a shady deal going on, and I kept the gun and I sold it or whatever. So yeah, that's one time when my prayer was answered. Definitely not how I thought it would go down. Vay says he lives in Israel. Ooh, what's going on? I don't know what's going on in the chat. It's going by very, very quickly. Thanks for sharing. That's interesting. Yes, indeed. If the Bible said to grow a booger out of your nose, would you? What do you mean, Dan? Boogers are growing out of my nose all the time. That's why I blow my nose regularly, right? And I, clean my nose regularly, be it with a tissue or a Q-tip. But I don't have as many boogers, right? Maybe because I stay away from dairy. I don't know. What is God according to Jewish texts, says Proc. I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. Right? God is revealed through nature. God is revealed through the 10 sfirot, right? Through the tree of life. So God is a collection of attributes, but none of them are actually God, right? God is a collection of, right? We say eyes of God, ears of God, nose of God, but God has none of these things. These are all ways in which God is revealing himself, herself to the world. This guy going viral as a comedian, says Legendary. People have asked me, you know what? People have asked me, but I don't know. I mean, I just might. Who the hell knows? I love humor. Humor is the best thing in the world. The best thing. Look at these unhinged trolls, says Yaakov. Fairly entertaining. Exactly. Isn't it highly entertaining that all of these haters and trolls and spammers are here? And I'm looking and I'm going, thank God. Thank God for all this entertainment. It's so much fun. Chris says, people, be decent on here. If you're not Christians or godly people, keep scrolling, he says. Well, you know what? No, I disagree. People should stay here if they want to stay here. It doesn't matter if you're godly or not, if you're Christian or not, if you're Jewish or not. It really makes no difference. It's something very, very free, right? And wild, the internet. And that's what I want it to be, right? Free and wild. JP, once again in the chat saying... Wait, sorry. I thought Goya was non-Jew. Yes, Goys are Gentiles, but Goy means nation. That's all it means. Do you think Adam was deceived by the serpent like Eve, or did he make a choice to eat the fruit? That is a very good question. I think that let's put it this way. I think that the serpent deceived them both. But I think that it happened through Eve, right? Through that feminine revelation that we call Eve, right? But basically the deception was on both. The deception was both, pretty much. Are you pro-Mossad, says Topi. Mossad is international espionage. And I'm definitely on board with Israel having intelligence agencies and spies in other countries, because other countries, first of all nations do this. Second of all, so it's just being part of the game. Second of all, I think that definitely in the countries that are working against us, we should have people in the know and people infiltrating those, hierarchies of industry and of leadership, of government, of establishment. So yes, I'm pro-Mossad. I'm not pro everything Mossad does, but Israel should definitely have intelligence agency people in different countries, yes. Welsh says, why do you have such messy hair? Because I'm a Hebrew Nazarite, and the Nazarite does not comb or brush their hair. Big Mac says, did you have to join the military? Yes, I did, and I served until a few years ago. So yes, obviously I could have gotten out of it. People can get out of it, but it was a responsibility and a duty and a privilege to wear the uniform of the IDF. Have you seen any similarities between Tiferet in Kabbalah and Christ in Christianity, KS says? Well, Tiferet is the lower man, right? Representing man, as opposed to, right? Or person as opposed to man, however you want to look at it, right? And so Tiferet is just a person. Tiferet is the lower masculine divine presence manifested in the world. Tiferet also literally means beauty. Tiferet also means like an offshoot. So similarities between Christ and Christianity, I don't know Christianity, and I read the New Testament once, so I can't say that there are similarities. The similarities are that Tiferet corresponds to male human beings, and Christ was a male human being. That's the similarity. Oprof says, people need to worry more about China than Mossad. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, but I don't know. I really don't. People say Mossad do all kinds of stuff, and, some things we'll never know, and some things really, seriously, we'll never know. Catholics stink, says Connor. Why do you say Catholics stink? I'm curious. Colin says, what does a Nazirite have to do with politics and worldly things? Indeed, I stay away from politics. I haven't voted in 20 years, and I don't know much worldly things. I really, really do keep to myself. I don't watch news, really. I don't follow the things going on in the world. Occasionally something will come my way, but I don't really follow it of my own accord. Because I also believe that you should have some knowledge of what's going on. The question is, what are you going? What is the lens through which you are looking at the goings on? And what I know, my lens, is that once it hits my screen, or I don't know, my ears or my eyes, it's already propaganda with an agenda baked in, with somebody with power, money, and influence trying to engineer my thought process. So I take everything with a grain of salt. Definitely. Being God's chosen ones and ethnic cleansing do not match. Do you get it? Says A.J. Arman. Well, I don't go with that chosen ones crap. I think that that's a very supremacist idea. Even if we were selected for a certain task, and we were, it doesn't mean that other people were not selected for other tasks. So think of it as like being a big or elder brother within a whole large family of siblings. That's how I see it. As for ethnic cleansing, there has been no ethnic cleansing, and you have no proof of that, not statistically, not historically, not with the numbers. What is going on with ethnic cleansing is that terrorist groups are trying to cleanse us. Also, the ethnic cleansing that did go on was the Muslim or Arab countries that forced, and displaced the Jews after the establishment of the State of Israel. Although, to their credit, many Muslim countries, for many, many hundreds of years, let the Jews either live as dhimmis, second-class citizens, and give their jizya, their skull tax, and they didn't, they had an equilibrium, and they had a balance, and they let the Jews do their thing as the people of the book. So there was a time when it was really, really happening in a good way. But now, not so much. Not so much. Chat, get a load of this clown. Yes, I am a clown, I definitely am a clown, Manuel Rodriguez. Very much so. Because you know what? Being a clown, it has its perks, it has its moments, it has its benefits. Also, that way, if you consider me a clown, you don't see me coming. And, that's okay. You can think I'm a clown. I love being a clown. Proc says, sir, please explain Judaism, its divine text, prophets, briefly to a person who doesn't know Judaism. Well, okay. Judaism, as we know it now, has its, Judah, the kingdom of Judah, the Jews. That's not the entire thing. The entire thing is 12 tribes. Jews come from Judea. Judea is the remnants of the kingdom of Judah. As for the text and prophets, we have the Hebrew Bible. We have 5 books of Moses, prophets, writings, and scrolls. Judaism is, 4,000 or 5,000 years old, depending on how you want to look at it. And the Hebrew covenant originated with, at least the covenant of Abraham originated about 3,000 years ago? No, was it closer to 4,000 years ago? So, what do you want to know? I may have a way to address it, and I may not. Ligma says, I've always felt hated and dehumanized by Jewish people. Thanks for showing that there's good and bad actors everywhere. You fixed that for me. Hey, you know what? Some Jews will hate your guts just because you're not Jewish. Some Gentiles will hate your guts just because you are Jewish. I take it on a case-by-case, person-to-person, individual basis, because to come with some preconceived notion and prejudgment, that's making the lens through which I view the world very murky and unclear. And I seek clarity, right? Because I'll never know everything, but the least I can do is approach something with an objective lens, as objective as can be. Let's continue. Oprah says, Muhammad, according to Abbasid propaganda, committed genocide against Jews in Medina and Khaybar. That's why Jews chant Khaybar, Khaybar, ya Yahud. That's right, that's right. Now wait, that's propaganda, or did that actually happen? What do you think? I've heard that it actually happened, but I don't know. I really don't. Do you like Time York's Smile band as well as Radiohead? Richard, I do like the Smile. I haven't listened to a bunch of their stuff. They have like 3 albums out already, and they went on a tour or a short tour in Europe. I didn't get to go to that. The Smile is good. They're a trio, right? It's Johnny Greenwood and Tom York and the drummer. I don't remember who it is. So yes, I do like that band. I don't follow them as closely. The only solo projects that look, Johnny Greenwood and Junoon are great. I haven't listened to Philip Selway's solo album or Johnny Greenwood's soundtrack of There Will Be Blood, or the score rather. I have been following Tom York's solo albums. I loved The Eraser. I loved Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. I loved Anima. It's all so good. I'm just a sucker for Tom York. Really. Really I am. So I've listened to The Smile, yeah, but not as much. Not as much. How many Jews are there in the world? Like between 15 and 18 million, I think. We are 0.1 or 2% of the population. Fuck, I can't stand this, says Jesse Steve Pearson Wisma. What can't you stand? What can't you stand? So yeah, between 15 and 18 million Jews. Frank says, hey Frank, how you doing, man? How are you doing? Did you sleep in the cat box? Because it looks like you have little turds hanging from your hair. Yes, it does look like pieces of turd, doesn't it? I do like that. But no, it's just, regular freeform organic Nazirite dreads. That's all that this is. As for it looking like turd, yeah, I'll go with that. As long as it doesn't smell like a turd, that's where I'll draw the line. And I think my wife would also draw the line there too. Tom York's Suspiria is mint. Yes, yes. Oh, I really do love that. That's a great soundtrack. I didn't see the movie, but I definitely listened to the soundtrack. Look, the singles that came out especially. Oh my God, so juicy. Nom, 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 nom. So good. So very good. I bet you do smell like one, says Connor. Nope, I smell pretty good, actually. Did I shower before Shabbos? I think I did. Or a day before Shabbos. Necro says, if Jews are God's chosen people, once again, I don't go for that supremacy crap. I say we were selected for a certain task, but not that we're better than anyone else. Does that mean that the Jews are always right? No, definitely not. You can see that in the Torah. Obviously, the Hebrews are not always right. Obviously, we make tons of mistakes, and we pay the price for those mistakes. That's part of what the Torah says. Love you, man, says Mike. Right back at you, Mike. Much love from Jerusalem. Much love indeed. What do you think about Talmud, says Lightning Goshen? Goshen or Goshen? I think that it's a collection of debates. And that's partly where the rabbinic law, halacha, is derived from. It stretches out, debates of hundreds of years, and it's not just debates, halachic debates, rabbinic law, it's also lore and myth and legend and folklore and other things. That's what I think about it. You never showered in your life, says Vey. Really? I beg to differ. Prague says, sir, how can a person learn about Judaism from a basic to advanced as an Indian Hindu? Go to your local Orthodox rabbi. That's how. That's what I say. You don't have to follow everything he says, of course, or believe everything he says, but I believe he'd be able to give you a good halachic principle, on what it is. But how can a person learn about Judaism? You can talk to a Jew, right, or to a rabbi. Are you from Jerusalem? Yes, I am, steel-headed. I'm there right now, coming to you live. Thoughts on organ harvesting, says Jasmine. I think that if it's halachically permissible, because it's not always permissible according to halacha, if it's halachically permissible, that's awesome. Let's do that. Organ donating or harvesting? Is there a difference? And I'm an organ donor, right? Should I die under the circumstances that would halakhically allow me to donate, I will donate every single one of my organs. So that is those are my thoughts on harvesting. Or do you mean organ harvesting as in, waking up in some cheap motel in a bath of ice water with a kidney gone? What type of harvesting are we talking about? If it's the latter, then no. If it's the former, then yes. I have an organ donor's card. I've had an organ donor's card ever since I joined the army. That's one of the first things that we did as part of the medics course, actually. The real descendants of biblical Israelites are mainly European, says Acid Death. Again, it has nothing to do with where we come from. The real descendants, it has nothing to do, there's no real or fake. There are people who follow the Jewish covenant, right? The Jewish Torah, the Hebrew Torah, the covenant of Abraham, and there are people who don't. That's where it breaks down. And sure, people make a big deal out of skin color and genealogy. People make a huge deal out of, fake and real. I see really nothing that has, it has no merit. It really, really doesn't. Truly. How do you know you are a Nazirite? Because I took a Nazirite's vow 15 years ago. I am a Samson Nazirite. That's how I know. If I did not take the vow, I would not be a Nazirite. It's something that it's a vow that you take. It's not something that you are just by virtue of anything else. It's a vow that you take. That's how I know. Thoughts on Epstein? I have no thoughts on Epstein because I did not read the files. I know that he's considered to be a bad dude who did bad things, but I have no idea. Because again, I don't follow everything that's going on. I really have no idea. I know that he had something called Epstein Island, allegedly, or not allegedly. I have no idea what he did or didn't do. Hey, welcome back. You had fun? Okay. You could have had fun. Good. Did you ever write a movie? Hayamai says. Yes, I've written several movies and several TV series. Nothing that has been produced yet, but hopefully that will change. I occasionally do send something out when there's like an open call for screenplays, but nothing yet has been produced. But I'm hopeful. So right now I'm working more on editing the things that I've written, and I haven't written anything new in many years. Nothing new in many years, but I still have faith in the things that I wrote a few years ago and in film school, that they will be produced one way or another. So yeah. Stop dodging the question, says Not Found. Dude, I'm not dodging the question. There are hundreds of people in this chat, and it's going very, very rapidly. Incidentally, if you think I'm ignoring the chat, your particular chat, people, I'm not. I take a look at the screen, I choose something from right there, and I go and address it. If you want me to address something specifically, DM me, right, Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree, or, right, I'm on X and TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and here, or leave a comment on one of my videos. I take a look and address any comment that is addressed to me. So if I miss you in the chat, my apologies. Do leave a comment. I do want to address what you're saying. Do you agree with the teachings of the Talmud? I agree that the Talmud is a debate. That's what it is. The teachings that are there, that are made later into halacha, I don't agree with all of them, and that's why I stopped keeping strict rabbinic law. And that's why I pick and choose everything. I'm a cherry picker, and I make no apology. Why do you hate Jesus? The cake says. I don't hate Jesus. If I was around at the time, maybe I would have followed him myself. But you, again, making the assumption that I hate Jesus shows a lot more about you than it does about me. Ay. So guys, no, I'm not dodging any questions. I'm not shying away from any questions. Okay, let's continue. Did the Jewish people originally come from Mars, Frank says. Could be. I have no idea. What's your contention, people? Did Jews come from Mars? And did Jewettes come from Venus? If the Bible said to mash your boogers in your beard, would you? Good question, Dan. It's possible, but the Torah is more about keeping oneself clean, right? Personal hygiene and cleanliness is an important thing in the Torah, whether it's when you wake up or go to sleep, whether it's before you eat and partake of a meal, or whether it's if you go to the mikveh, to the ritual pool, and immerse yourself. So you need to be clean. Hello from Wales, says YMO. Hey, hello to you, you Welsh person, you. Okay, let's continue. What do you think of modern-day Germans? I have no particular thoughts on them. I know that RBD, I know that if Germany, right, can make peace and be part of the European Union, and if Germany can get over what happened all those years ago, then there's hope for everybody around the world. That's what I'm saying. De-radicalization needs to be done here and, in every conflict, James says, thoughts on Kabbalah Baal HaSulam. Well, Baal HaSulam, Rabbi Yehuda Levi Ashlag, my thoughts are that he wrote a great commentary on the Zohar, but that his son Baruch Shalom HaLevi Ashlag and the Bnei Baruch organization, I'm hearing things about them that are not kosher. So I think that Baal HaSulam himself was a great sage, and the things that he said are accepted as a great commentary on the Zohar, but the people who followed in his footsteps, I think they are perceived, not by me because I don't know, but the Bnei Baruch organization and his son, Rabbi Baruch Shalom HaLevi Ashlag, are considered to be people who sort of took his teachings and ran with them in a different directions. As for the actual Sulam commentary on the Zohar, Kabbalists who study it, I'm not a Kabbalist, Kabbalists who study it do seem to think it is a righteous commentary on that book. Not Found says, he's a good Jew, stop hating him. Hey, you know what? Thanks for the vote of confidence. There are times when I am not good, but I try to better my ways every single day. Sometimes, all the time, I fall short of the mark. I fall short of the ideal. I am fallen. I am a sinner, but I try not to rebel against God, and not transgress to anger the Most High. I have no such hate or anger in my heart. So yeah. Love is stronger than hate, says the ghost of Teddy Perkins. Hello and peace. And you. Thank you. Yes, love is greater than hate. I agree. Love covers all wrongdoings, says Proverbs. Love covers all wrongdoings. I'm inclined to agree. Jordan says, according to the Torah, the Christ would be lineage of King David. That's false. Because you can be an anointed one. That's what Christ means. You can be an anointed one from any tribe. So no, that's not true. The destruction of the second temple makes it impossible to know who comes from King David anymore, so Jesus king? Look, Jesus could have been a king. Was he accepted? Did he receive the crown and was anointed by the Hebrew people? Did the Hebrew people accept his kingship and his sovereignty and his rule? I don't think so. But even if he was king, he died. And when he died, that's when his rule and reign as king ended. We do not follow dead kings. We follow living kings. And it's not according to Torah that the lineage has to be of King David. According to Torah, it says that it's permissible to have a king. It doesn't have to be. And when Samuel first crowned a king, it was Saul of the tribe of Benjamin. Only later was David of the tribe of Judah. So it doesn't make any sense. Also, the kingdom of Israel, after the split, the kingdom of Israel had kings from the tribes of Joseph, right? Menashe and Ephraim. Or was it just Ephraim? No, it was Menashe and Ephraim. Do you think Sharon was great, says Mike? Well, look, he was a brilliant military strategist. As a prime minister, I think that he was... No, I did not... I supported him, kind of. I didn't vote, but I supported him, being that it was the government, and I was like, okay, let's see what he does. But no, I don't think he was great. I think that he was a great military strategist and military leader, but not a good leader as a prime minister. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. The thing is that toward the end of his time, he's the one who did the disengagement, if I'm not mistaken, right, from Gaza, which I thought was a great mistake, a big mistake. Why did David take 5 stones from the river specifically? Well, look, taking stones from the river has an esoteric meaning. The thing that's written physically, right? The thing that's written physically is that he took stones from the river, chalukei nachal. But it has an esoteric meaning as well, right? That he takes something from the water. Water is considered one of the names of the Torah, right? One of the names that the Torah is given is living water. So you can say that by taking stones from the river, he was alluding to him going in righteousness, right? With the might of the Almighty, let's say, and that's what he tells Goliath. He says, you're coming to me with a spear and your armor, and I am coming to you in the name of Adonai, the Lord of the hosts of Israel, right, that you have desecrated or have gone against. So taking stones from a river has to do with the fact that it's something hard from something soft, right? It has to do with that duality of a rock, of a stone, right, or water. Water, the Tao Te Ching very famously says that water represents humility because it takes the shape of whatever vessel it is put into, and it doesn't ask anything for itself. Water seeks to go as low as it possibly can, right? Water is the element of grace and of giving, the right hand, whereas stone is part of the earth and the element of earth, which is heavy and which represents this material and earthly thing, right? So it's this connection of the spiritual, the living water, right? And the physical, the stone from the earth. Those two elements represent David. He was a warrior and a poet. He was a scholar and a fighter, right? So David knew what he was doing. So whether you look at it specifically as from the river, being that those were the best stones and they had the best aerodynamics because they were round, or if you're looking at it esoterically, where David was seeking that union of the divine masculine and feminine, right, water and earth, right? Water and earth also grow things, right? So that's kind of like off the top of my head why it would have been from the river specifically. But what do you think, good people? Why did David take stones from the river specifically? Let's continue. Holdfast says, what's your favorite book in Tanakh and why? What is good commentary for the Tanakh? Well, it depends. There are different levels of the Tanakh. So a good commentary would be just, Rashi, just as Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki of the 11th century. But, Ramban is a wonderful commentary. There are many of them, many. Holdfast, my favorite book in Tanakh is, I'm partial to Song of Songs because of the wonderful poetry. But Genesis is my favorite, and the Torah portion of Genesis, the first part of the Tanakh, the first chapter, the first 50 verses of the Tanakh, that's it. Oh, so very ordinary. Do you and your family have any fun Valentine's Day traditions? No, because it's Saint Valentine's Day. We are a Hebrew family. We do not celebrate any saintly holidays. I can appreciate the fact that it's a day that is devoted to love. Saint Valentine is the patron saint of lovers, and a couple of other things, if I'm not mistaken. But the reason why it's Saint Valentine's is because he is the patron saint of lovers, which I love the idea of, but I don't mark it or celebrate it or, do anything for it, Think in Time says, are there any rules, beliefs, or anything about the Jewish faith that you question or disagree with and think could and should be revisited? Yes, many, many things, and that's why I stopped keeping strict rabbinic law years ago. Because I grew up Orthodox in Jerusalem, modern Orthodox, but in my mid-20s, I started seeing or continued seeing things that did not align with the views and the values, right, that I was adapting to myself. So, yes, many things that I saw that I was like, no, not doing that. Nope, not going with that. Nope, I don't see it like that. So, many things. Rules, beliefs, or anything, definitely. I don't go blindly with blind faith in the traditions. I understand that many traditions have their origins in destruction, exile, and death, and war, and woe, and horrible things. So I want to not merely survive, I want and wish to thrive. That's why. Dan says, if someone wanted to cut your beard and hair, would you? What do you mean? If someone wanted, would I? That question makes no sense. What is the Nazirite view on the afterlife, says Rico? Well, there's no particular Nazirite view. I'm just a regular Hebrew man, no more, no less. The Hebrew view of the afterlife, I don't know what you mean. Do you mean what happens after death? Or do you mean the life that comes after this life? That's not the same thing. You'll have to clarify it for me. Let us continue. Do you love Christians? Well, I try to love people, London's Frost. Unless they give me a reason not to love them, I try to love them and to, have an open mind and an open heart and an open ear. Park says, unfortunately, there is no synagogue in my city because Muslims hate Jews a lot here, so any other way to learn about Judaism? Well, again, you have a phone, presumably? Call someone up. Call up your Beit Chabad, your nearest Chabad house, even if it's not in your city, and ask to talk to one of the people there. That's what I'm saying. Continuing, Hail Titus, says Vey. If you say so. Answer my questions above, says Salman. Okay, tag me and maybe I'll see it, but if I don't, leave a comment. Do you play video games? No, I don't, Christian. I don't play video games. The last thing I regularly played was GTA San Andreas Stories, like 20 years ago or something. I don't know. But no. No, definitely not. I don't play video games. I mean, occasionally, if my kids are playing something and I'm on board, I'll play with them, but I haven't played in many, many months. And at the time we used to play FIFA, right? Soccer on the console. So I don't play video games, but I don't knock people who do. I mean, look, if you're a gamer if you want to go pro, that's one thing, but if you are wasting time and abdicating responsibility and not taking care of yourself, then no, then you should stop playing. Are there online synagogues? Do online services count? Count towards what? They definitely do count. The question is towards what? And yes, there are online synagogues, many of them. Someone who I came across, I'm not part of his community, but I came across the vegan rabbi, and he seems to have a nice community, though I haven't checked it out other than knowing a little bit about it. I'm not part of the community. We can call a rabbi even if we're not a Jew. Yes, guess what? You can. I don't know which rabbi will or won't talk to you, but yes, definitely you can. Where's the gold and silver, says Rambo. Right here. This is the only gold I have. I used to have a golden earring, but I took it out many years ago. GTA, my brother, guess what? Yeah. I had fun playing GTA, but that's it. That's really it. I didn't play. Now look, at the time, it was just after I was discharged from mandatory service, and I went through a period of heavily playing GTA. I played GTA 3. I had the Liberty City Stories, San Andreas, maybe one other. And I didn't do 100% in all of the side quests and the side tasks and all that. I don't think I ever completed all of them all the time, but yeah. Why do Jews claim they're better than the rest of humanity? Natasha says, we don't. Some idiots do, but I definitely don't. So ask someone who does. If you ask a Jewish supremacist why, they might say, how dare you speak to me? Or they may actually answer your question. But because I don't think that I'm better than the rest of humanity, I have no real answer for you. I'm sorry. Explain Zionism, says Archangel Michael, right? Two types of Zionism. Biblical Zionism in the book of Deuteronomy, and modern-day Zionism in the mid-19th century. So Zionism in the Bible has more of a religious thing to it, and faith and Torah, and returning to God and the covenant and commandments. And the modern-day Zionism was simply the ancestral home, Judea, right, Israel, of the Israelites, of the kingdom of Judah, or the remnants of the kingdom of Judah. That is Zionism. Going back to Judea, or, to the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, going back to their birthplace. That's pretty much it. Now, when you take away the religious and faith, let's say Torah, Mosaic element from it, you might have less of a leg to stand on. So you don't believe in the Messiah? Good luck with that, says Ephron. What do you mean? I believe the Messiah is a possibility, but it's not a necessity. It's just a king. That's all a Messiah is. A Messiah means anointed one. Mashiach means anointed one. That's all that it means. There could be an anointed one. There could not be an anointed one. It's not a necessity. It's not a must. We as a people don't need to have a king. And bear in mind, good people, that when Samuel, right, spoke to the children of Israel, he says, don't put a king of flesh and blood. Adonai is your king. Roll with him. So that's who I want to roll with. I don't want a king of flesh and blood. However, if there is an anointed Hebrew king to the new kingdom of Israel, I will definitely go with him and support him and bow down to him like any other king. You know what I'm saying? How are Jewish Orthodox people raised? What was your upbringing like compared to a regular person? Well, we keep halacha, rabbinic law. That means that a kosher house, we go to synagogue on Shabbos, and if not, or definitely Shabbos, and sometimes during the week as well, we keep all of the festivals and the fast days. And I was raised in Jewish institutions, Orthodox, right, religious institutions, from kindergarten until right before the army, right? And I went to yeshiva for a few years for higher religious studies. But what do you mean? Ask a specific question and I'll be able to answer the question. However, I was raised by hippie Orthodox religious folk, right? My mother and father are children of the 60s, so we weren't, let's say, ultra-Orthodox. My parents wanted to live in the world. They did not hide the world away from us or, shelter us. And that came at a price, but I'm glad that they did it nonetheless. So Ephron, I do believe in the idea of an anointed one. I simply don't believe that it's a necessity. That's all. Salman says, how does world end according to Jewish belief? How are the final times described in faith? Well, the world. What do you mean by the world? As far as I'm concerned, we are now in a world between worlds, right? We have the 6 days of creation and the Sabbath that never occurred because we were cast out of Eden before the sun had set. And so that time between Friday afternoon and sunset stretched into history as we know it in this life, in this world, in this creation. So we are now living in a world between worlds. We are awaiting the time where the Sabbath will enter, and we will go into the Edenic Sabbath, also known as the world to come, or the coming world, and we will partake of the fruit of the tree of life, which was put under guard, but never forbidden. And that's what we are here to do. We are trying to work on that task. And we will eventually, God willing, embrace ourselves as human beings together and march to the gates of Eden and partake, of the fruit of the tree of life. Thoughts on Israel's politics? I'm not a fan, and that's why I have not voted in 20 years, Nicholas, because I think politics is a very dirty game. I think that a vote is just an illusion, more often than not. I think that the people who are actually in control are not the politicians, but are the ones who whisper in their ear, the lobbyists, the influencers, the one who have the money, the one who have the power, not the ones who are actually voted in. Holdfast says, were the 5 stones used symbolic of the 5 books of Torah? Could very well be. But the Torah is usually not alluded, right? The allusion is not to stone. The allusion is more to water or fire, but not earth. Proc says, sir, why don't Jews consider Muhammad as a prophet? What is the opinion idol worship in Judaism? Does ancient Jew have written something about my country, India? I mean, India is mentioned as, in the scroll of Esther, Mehodu ve'ad Kush, from India to Africa. But other than that, I don't think there's a specific mention of India. Now, there is the idea of Abraham. After Sarah dies, he takes a wife called Keturah. He has many kids, boys and girls, with Keturah, and they say that the Torah says that he sort of sent them away for the Hebraic, Abrahamic covenant to follow through Isaac, to Jacob, and so on. And that the kids that he had with Keturah were sent away to the east, right, and to Asia. And so they say that the Hindus have their origin in the kids that Abraham had sent. But I don't know if that actually corresponds with the timeline. So if it's not the Hindus, it's other nations, other cultures, other faiths. Maybe it's not India or Hinduism. So, no, I think Hinduism is older than that. I think it's older than that, so not that. So no, there's no actual direct mention unless it's in the scroll of Esther. As for Muhammad as a prophet, I don't know precisely why, but we did not accept him as a prophet, probably because what he was preaching or teaching was against the Torah, and that's why. As for idol worship, it is not allowed in Judaism. Other countries and nations and faiths, they can do whatever. We are not allowed to worship idols. There is no image of God, right? There is us made in the image of God, but we are creations and not the creator. We are not allowed to make any sigils, any statues, any drawings. There's no such thing as a personification of God. There's only how God reveals himself in the world. There is only the revelations, the garments and clothing, let's say, in which God is revealed in the world. So that's it. I would like to hear more about the Edenic Sabbath, says Think in Time. Well, consider this. It's basically what I said. Before we were allowed to partake of that Sabbath and partake of the fruit of the tree of life, we were cast out. And so now is the time that is between. For instance, we now, according to the Hebrew calendar, are in the year 5786. We are nearing the end of 6,000. Each 1,000, each millennium corresponds to a day. Like it says in the Psalms, 1,000 years is like a day to you. Elef shanim be'ainecha kiyom etmol ki ya'avor. Which means that we are nearing the end of the 6th day, of the 6,000. right? We are in the 6,000, nearing the end of it. And Shabbos, very famously, is brought in not right at sunset, but somewhat before sunset. And so we are, according to the Jewish Hebrew calendar, it's not a question of when the world was created. The universe is billions of years old. It's a question of learning where we are in the cycle of 7,000 years, of 6,000 years, just like we have 6 days of labor and work and toil, 1 day of rest. Connecting? Okay. And just like we have 6 years of working and the land and 1 Sabbath of the land, 1 year, to let it rest, in the very same way, we have 6,000 years of creation and 1,000 years of Shabbos, and we are nearing that Shabbos. We are nearing it. That's the Edenic Sabbath, the one that is called the worlds to come, or the coming world. That is what resurrection is. That's why people say that we will be resurrected means that death will be taken away from the world. When we are here in a world that is of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, it's life as opposed to death, death as opposed to life. It's a duality. But with the fruit of the tree of life, it's just of life. It's not tree of life and death. It's just tree of life. It's a singularity. It's the Sabbath, right? That's the Edenic Sabbath. As for how it will go down, far be it from me to know. But that's what it is. Nah, I don't believe a single word of this, says Duck Ricky. Hey, you don't have to. That's the beauty of this. I'm just talking to people. I'm not asking you to believe a single word. Don't do what I say. Don't do as I do. Don't believe me. Don't follow me. Don't sub. Don't like. Do whatever you want. That's the beauty of this live stream internet thing. That's the beauty of it. You have a choice. You swipe up, you swipe down, whatever you want to do. That's how awesome this is. Let us continue. I'm almost done with my tea. It's been almost 2 hours. I'm going to go soon, but I'm loving this. I'm loving this. It's so much fun. What do you think of Shabtai Tzvi and Jacob Frank? I mentioned this in the last live stream where this question came up. I think that they had a great intention and they went about it completely the wrong way. That's what I think. Question, is it true, Adam says, that Israelis aren't allowed to take DNA tests? No, it's not true. It's just very heavily regulated. But you can take a DNA test in Israel. Take a bath, says Shylock. Oh, what a fitting name. I have taken many baths, and I say this every time. Here I have a shower, 2 showers in this home, but I lament the fact that there is no bath, because I love baths. I love taking a bath. I love turning down the lights, lighting a candle, lighting incense, putting music on, using essential oils or a bath bomb. I make a whole production out of it, use really hot water, not burning hot, but really hot. I lie in that tub, I soak for 20 or 30 minutes. It's tasty. I love it. And now, because I only have showers for the past 2 years, I haven't been able to take a proper bath. I hope whatever house or apartment I move into next, I will have a bath, or we will be able to renovate here at some point and have a proper bath, because I miss a bath. I miss it. I really do. I truly do. JP says, can you explain the glory of God? Psalms 19 says, the heavens declare the glory of God. How do we declare the glory of God? So, okay, those are physical terms used to convey spiritual ideas. When it says that the Hashamayim mesaprim kvod Adonai, when it says that the sky tells of the glory of Adonai, it means that sky represents a certain divine revelation. Glory, kavod, represents a certain divine revelation, and the name Adonai, Yod Hei Vav Hei, is a certain divine revelation. And this and every other verse in the Bible is representative of the relationship between the Sfirot, the relationship between the different revelations and manifestations and emanations of God through the tree of life. That's what this is. Now, that's like the esoteric meaning. If you want to talk about the practicalities, it means this. When you go out in the world, look up at the sky and realize that you can feel, potentially, awe. You can feel awe when you look at the night sky, when you look at a cloud go by, when you truly stop and look up at the sky and consider your place in this vast, vast multiverse of multiverses, okay? Then you can feel, on the one hand, very, very small, tiny, and insignificant. But it is only through your small, tiny, insignificant existence that you can make the biggest difference. Because while you may be in the lowest place hierarchically in the hierarchy of creation, you are exactly where you need to be. And you have the potential and the benefit of being here, because here you draw breath and you can think and laugh and live and love and eat and perform commandments. The dead don't do it. The animals don't do it. The angels and demons don't do it. You have the ability to affect your surroundings. You have the ability to manifest that glory of God. So when you look at nature, and you look and you look at the sky, and you look at the earth, and you look at infinity in a grain of sand, and you can stop and pause and really breathe it in and understand where you come from and where you are going. That's the glory of God, and where you fit in to the glory of God, and how you can bring it into creation. Chris says, how can I best prepare to be a good husband/dad? Humility. That's how. If you practice humility, that doesn't mean being a doormat. It means being humble and having boundaries, right? That's true humility. Humility is giving things their proper time and place, and ideally knowing your place in them, but you can't always know that. I say humility, because humility is the key to all positive attributes. Humility is the key to all positive traits. If you go humbly and walk humbly before God in this world, you will be able to change yourself from the top down and from the bottom up, because humility runs through and through, right? From the crown until the soles of your feet. It affects you in every single way possible. So if you want to prepare to be a good husband and dad, practice humility whenever you possibly can, and make it your life's meaning and effort to be more humble. Again, this does not mean being a doormat, and it doesn't mean lowering yourself to such a degree that you go against what you consider to be a boundary. You need to be very careful with that. It doesn't mean be a doormat. It means be humble. Where is your kippah? I do not wear a kippah, because this is a crown of consecration on the head of a Nazarite, Avishol. That's why I do not wear a kippah. Also, as I've said many times, the kippah has become too much of a mark of segregation and of division and of vanity, and too much of that going on. So no, the kippah is no good for me. Ghost says, that is the most Jewish-looking Jew I've ever seen. Happy to make your digital acquaintance, Ghost. Let's continue again. What do fellow Jews think about your dreadlocks? Asks Archangel Michael. Do they consider that being uncleanly? Probably. I'm not hating on you, I'm just truly curious whether... Well, look, many Jews mistakenly think that the Naziriteship doesn't exist anymore. Some Jews probably think that I'm just a Rasta. Other Jews might think that I'm trying to look Jamaican. Other Jews may think that and people might think that I'm homeless, or that I have no personal hygiene, or... I don't know. But some people, few and far between, actually say, damn, you know what? Good for you. So yeah. Salman says, are there any other beings accountable to God other than humans? Like Muslims have a concept of jinns who are made of fire by God, and they have free will. So angels and demons do not have free will. So thereby they are not accountable, right? They are servants, they are messengers, they are doing their job. And animals have no processing, really, not compared to humans, right? So it's lots of stimulus response. Obviously, there are many, let's say, mammals and others that have a thought process and emotions, and of course, but they are not accountable like that, like humans are. So I'm inclined to say no. Only human beings are accountable as human beings. Maybe other beings are accountable in different ways, but we focus on humanity, and other earthlings are not, and angels and demons, right, other spiritual beings are not as accountable, if that. Definitely not as human beings. Thanks for sharing part of your Shabbos with us. Oh, so very well. It's not Shabbat anymore. Shabbat it's now 11:34 p.m. And so Shabbat was out about 6 hours ago. On Shabbat, I don't turn on the computer, I don't turn on my phone, I don't use electricity, I don't turn on any light switches or anything, so I wouldn't be doing this on Shabbat. I did it after the Shabbos had already left. Okay, one or two more questions, and then I'm going to say goodbye. Have you met any Karaites in Israel? Yes, I have actually met some Karaites in Israel, Luke Miller, and I definitely respect them. They have every reason not to go with the rabbinic tradition of Orthodox Judaism. They have every reason to go with the 5 books of Moses the way that they do. I don't take that as a fault. I don't see that as being something to their detriment. That is their tradition. They have every reason to stick to that religiously, and I don't see it as something wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of things changed with rabbinic Judaism. A lot of things changed. Definitely. Okay, sir, says Proc, respected Prophet Abraham, he preached Judaism, I think, but what tribe he belonged to? There were no tribes. The tribes were the 12 children of Jacob and Dinah, the sister. Those were the tribes. Abraham was a Hebrew. He was a Hebrew man of the sons of Ever. That's what he was. He did not preach Judaism. He preached monotheism. There was no kingdom of Judah, no Jews, no tribe of Judah, no Judah son of Jacob, no Jacob yet, no Isaac yet. There was Avram, which later was renamed Avraham. Okay, on that note, I will say goodbye. I hope I'll go live tomorrow once again. I deeply thank you, those who are engaging, and if I missed your chat, please leave a comment. I answer every single comment that I get that is addressed to me, so please, by all means, leave a comment in any one of my videos, and I will get to it. I thank you for your time and your kind and gentle attention. It's lovely to have this time with you. I don't take it for granted. You could be doing anything else right now, those watching now, those watching later, but you are here with me. It's live, it's raw, it's happening, it's magical, and I'm so very happy that you took the time. I hope I was of some value, and if not of any value, maybe some entertainment. And be blessed, be a blessing to others, be the light in other people's lives. Go humbly before God, and I will talk to you, God willing, tomorrow for another live stream where the wonders never cease. Until then, good night from Jerusalem. God bless.